What is going on, everyone? A huge thank you for clicking on the video. I greatly appreciate that as always. Today I am finally back with another physical cartridge video, and this time I'm taking a look at one of the most revered Gen 2 experiences out there, and that is of course none other than Pokemon Polished Crystal for the Game Boy Color. And no, your eyes are not deceiving you. This looks just as awesome as it does in person on the camera. I mean, wow, this thing looks stunning. We've got this almost drawing, like this early rendering of Suicune, like a sketch or something. It just looks so good. We've got that classic swirl background as well. Very Pokemon-like. You see that on like Fire Red and Leaf Green with the swirl. It just looks great. And yes, this is Polished Crystal, one of many in a long line of Gen 2 ROM hacks that aim to basically just perfect, or in this case, polish the what I believe to be already perfect Gen 2 experience, and just add a ton of new features, quality of life improvements, all of the good stuff, while still maintaining that classic Gen 2 feel. So huge shout out to Rangi, or Rangi42 as I've seen in a few places. That is of course Polished Crystal's creator. So huge shout out to you and anybody else who may have been involved in creating this phenomenal looking ROM hack. I'm super excited to dive into it. And also now is a good time to point out there is a distinct separation between the ROM hack creator and this physical product I'm looking at today. The creator did not make this product. I just want to make that very clear that they had nothing to do with this physical cartridge and box today. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at this physical box here. We already took a look at the front, but I just want to point out again, I love this sketch look. I love the black and white look to it with the subtle use of color with the word Pokemon there. It just looks so good. And if there's any imperfections, I did have to fold this box myself, so I don't even think it really stands very well. So that is on me, of course. I'm probably not the best at folding this thing. But yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to the sides and of course the back as well. But yeah, here we got a little bit more color. Like I said, I really like the use of all of the black and white, but with a little bit of color on there to kind of just show that accent and show what the game is all about. If you all want to take a look and read this thing, feel free to pause and just, take a gander, see what this game has to offer. But of course, we do need basic reading skills to fully enjoy this entertaining story. And as you can see here, a little bit of a spoiler, but we do have Miss Magius here, so there are a few new additions to this game, other than just quality of life. Maybe a couple new Pokemon to check out here. Looks like Sylveon's using Moonblast. A whole bunch of cool stuff I cannot wait to take a look at. Also, now is a good time to point out this Nintendo branding here. I actually like that it's saying, not original Nintendo seal of quality. This official seal is your assurance that this product is not licensed by Nintendo. Yes, this is not an official Nintendo game whatsoever. If that wasn't obvious, it should be obvious now that this is not an official Nintendo product. They had nothing to do with this other than, of course, the base game Pokemon Crystal version. Go ahead and see if I can set that there. That's weird, I can get it that way, but not the other way, but we'll just put that there. And now we'll take a look at this physical cartridge. Holy cow, look at that. You can probably see my dumbass in the reflection there. But here we are with Polished Crystal. Oh my gosh, that looks good. I love the sparkle cartridge as well. We've got that bevel there to kind of show that this is a Game Boy Color game. And all of this, oh my gosh, it's like a more translucent, lose the blue of the original Crystal, but it's still got that sparkle and shimmer of an actual Crystal cartridge. Really driving home this look. I absolutely love this. Wow, that glare is insane. Sorry about the lights, but yeah, a very, kind of matching cover there. Obviously, this is way more shiny than the box here, but yeah, no, this looks great. That's gonna fall. Oh well. Yeah, no, this looks so good. Polished Crystal. You got the sparkle on the sticker there. Wow, this is one of the prettiest cartridges I've looked at. If you've been on the channel, I've gotten a few pretty good looking ones, but this might take the cake. This just looks so good. Go ahead and pop this open for anybody who may be interested in what the board we're working with here looks like. But this does appear to be a pretty high quality board from what I can tell. And admittedly, I don't know a whole lot about these boards, but I do love that we have a battery holder for our save battery. Love that addition there, I really do. I always appreciate having one of those. Definitely going to start putting them on my authentic Pokemon games as well, because it's a nice thing to have. You don't have to solder anymore when you have one of these things. But yeah, it looks like we've got GB Flash up there in the corner. Go ahead and move this out now. Yeah, GB Flash, looks like that says Geek Memory. Seems to be pretty high quality. It definitely appears that way, but admittedly, I don't know a whole lot about this. But like I said, I just love the fact that there's a battery holder there. If anybody has any information and wants to give some more specs down below, feel free to do that, because I admit I don't know a whole lot about this, but I do like to show everybody the board. I've had a few people ask, so I definitely try and make that something that I do in all of my videos. Now, the last thing I want to mention before we dive into this actual game here is I was given the option to have RTC on this cartridge. I chose not to do that, mostly because it was expensive. It was like 20 or 30 bucks more, and I didn't think that I needed it, so that may or may not hinder my experience in some way. I don't know, day and night cycle, berries growing back, etc., all that good stuff. We'll see what happens, of course, when we jump into it. But yeah, I just wanted to say I did have that option, and I did choose to not do that in order to save a few bucks. But yeah, I think this physical product here, I think it checks out. This may be the prettiest thing I've taken a look at on the channel. I'll let you all decide. Let me know what you think has looked best so far. But this is 10 out of 10. This just looks so good. But now I think might be a good time to pop this into the Game Boy finally, which I think is just also going to look at that. It's like it was made for that. But yes, we're popping this into the Game Boy, and we're going to see if it works. Here we are with polished crystal, and believe it or not, I have some tremendous news. This game works. The cartridge holds a save, and not only does it hold a save, I've put probably like 40-something hours into this game and counting. Like, I'm still playing the game, even after I beat it. There's just so much that polished crystal adds to the game. Even like the little things, like extra buildings to go into and NPCs to talk to. There's really a lot here to explore. But before we jump into all that, were there any glitches in the game? Anything out of the ordinary or wonky or anything like that of the nature? And thankfully, no, I did not experience anything weird. The game runs smooth. It's as smooth as we could hope it to be, and that is, of course, the best possible outcome we could have asked for. So what are some things Polished Crystal adds to the game? What are some things that I liked? Because I could probably go on for hours talking about this game, but I'm going to try and narrow it down to the things that really stuck out to me. But first, we've got our quality of life improvements, those things that you kind of come to expect with a lot of ROM hacks. Things like running shoes and just in general faster movement, across the board. Running shoes, surfing, biking, all of that is going to be faster. You're really going to be able to cruise through this game if that's something that you want to do. This hack also has unlimited TMs, which is probably my favorite quality of life improvement to add. Also, no more HMs. Well, okay, they're still in the game technically, but you don't actually have to teach them to your Pokemon anymore. Feels a little bit more modern. Just so long as you have somebody on your team that can learn that HM and, of course, have the badge requirement, you don't have to teach it to them anymore. You can just use it outside of battle. Things like Surf, Strength, Cut, Fly, Flash, all that good stuff. You can use it just so long as somebody on your team can technically learn it. So, long gone are the days of HM slaves, which I'm definitely not complaining about that. This game also adds fairy types into the game, which I know some people can take it or leave it. I personally really like the fairy type. I think it's one of the best things Pokemon has ever added into the game, so I'm totally here for that. And there are also a few type changes to some of the Pokemon, which I know some people probably won't like that. I'm personally okay with it, so long as it's not every Pokemon, it's not too egregious, the type changes make sense. All in all, I'd say maybe like 10% or so of all the Pokemon in here have some sort of type change. Most notably to me was my Charizard. I had a Charizard on my team, and he is now Fire Dragon, which honestly is really cool. I'm definitely not complaining about that. I mean, the dude should have been a dragon. Lance literally uses him. He's the Dragon Master, so I've not met too many people that would hate that. Also, another one that stood out to me was Noctowl, something I always thought would have been Psychic growing up, but obviously he's not. That's Natu and Xatu. But in here, they did, I think, the next best possible choice, which is making him Flying Ghost. Just in general, something to look out for. You might use a move on somebody and not get the results that you typically think, so, it's something to keep an eye out for. Now, with the previously mentioned Fairy-type edition, we also have new moves in the game, so a lot of those Fairy-type moves are in the game, but also just a lot of moves from really any of the post-Gen 2 games, so you're going to see things like Moonblast and Wild Charge and Flare Blitz, things like that, and they look really crisp in that Gen 2 animation style. Like, it looks very authentic. It feels like something Game Freak would have made if they put those games in there. It looks very professional. Also, all of the Pokemon now have their own unique sprites, so no more of that shared 5 or 6 sprites between all the Pokemon. They all look very unique. You can tell exactly who you're looking at. So whether you're looking in your party or you're in your PC system, which also shout out to the PC system, that has been upgraded. Feels much more modern, it's faster. You don't have to save in between the boxes. It's all just right there. It's very, very clutch. And even the trainers in the overworlds now have more unique sprites. Everything's a little bit more diverse. Not everybody's going to look like a youngster or a hiker. And that's also because they've added more trainer classes into the game, a lot more modern trainer classes. Things like Aroma Ladies, Battle Girls, Dragon Tamers, Veterans, all those more modern classes in here, and they look very good both inside and outside of battle. The battle system has also been upgraded, like the display. It's got a little bit of a tweak now. It's actually going to tell you what type your moves are, so if you were maybe ever confused about what a certain type or what a certain move type was, it shouldn't happen anymore. Psychic, for example, if you didn't know what type the Psychic move was, it now tells you that Psychic is in fact a Psychic type move. Flamethrower is a Fire type move, Thunderbolt's an Electric type move, so on and so forth. You get what I'm saying. It's also going to tell you if your moves are physical or special, as well as having a weather condition display. So, if somebody uses Sunny Day, or maybe you're in an area that's naturally raining or hailing, because there's a few locations like that as well, where in the overworld it's just raining or hailing. It's also going to show that up in the corner, telling you exactly what's going on. I did feel like perhaps the AI was improved in some way, like they're a little bit smarter. There was a moment or two, a few times, that they would maybe switch out their Pokemon. It didn't happen like in every battle, but it did feel somewhat strategic, like they clearly were not going to be able to do any damage to me, so they swapped out for somebody who maybe had, a better chance. There's also abilities in this game, which I know if you just play Gen 1 and Gen 2 games, you may or may not like abilities. I'm fine with them. I think it adds depth to the battle system. It's totally fine with me. If I'm being honest, I don't even think I knew what half of my people's abilities were. Like, I'm not going out of my way to hunt down their special hidden ability or anything like that, but it was nice, if I'd switch out my Meganium in the middle of battle, she would naturally heal herself from her burn, paralysis, whatever it might be, so it's just a nice little thing to have. Also, another thing that happens during the battle, which kind of knocked my socks off. I really did not expect this. I'm really glad I was actually recording when it happened, but your Pokemon can actually evolve in the middle of battle, kind of like in the anime, which I always thought was really cool. I wish that would happen. And in here, it does. I think it was like my second rival fight in Alzelia Town. My Zubat just straight up evolved into a Golbat in the middle of the fight. It literally blew my mind. I was not expecting that. And then the icing on top, once I finished that battle, my Golbat then evolved into a Crobat, which was just wild to me. I have never had, a happiness, affection-based Pokemon that early on in the game before. Kind of makes me think they maybe tweaked that a little bit, which, hey, I am totally fine with that. It lets you get those happiness Pokemon way earlier on. And speaking of evolving, you might be wondering, how do I get those, trade evolutions Pokemon, like Alakazam, Gengar, all those good ones? Well, as far as I can tell, you can get every single Pokemon in the game through one way or another. And for those trade evolutions ones, I believe there's an item called, Trading Link Cable. It's just an item. I think you can buy it. I think I even found one just while playing the game. And you just use that item on them, and then they'll evolve. And then for things like Steelix, Scizor, Kingdra, I didn't actually test this, but you either just use their item on them, or you have them hold it and then level up in battle, and then they should evolve that way. But yeah, you should be able to get all the Pokemon through one way or another, and there are quite a few new Pokemon to look out for. I seem to notice pretty much anything Gen 1 or Gen 2 related that came out since those games are in this game, so they kind of consolidated it to keep it Kanto and Johto from what I can tell. So you got the baby Pokemon like Munchlax, you got those extended evolutions like Honchkrow and Electivire, Mismagius, and you even have a lot of those variant form Pokemon like Alolan and Galarian things, like the Meowths are in here, the Girafarig evolution, Weirdeer's in here, all of those good ones. Just pretty much anything Kanto Johto related seemed to be in this game, rather than them just filling it with a bunch of, Gen 3 onward Pokemon. This game also adds rematches, kind of like in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which I know a lot of people, myself included, really like the rematches. It's always just a really fun time, especially if you fight like those early gym leaders again, like Faulkner and Bugsy, getting to fight them with, full-fledged teams. It's just always fun. You just have to beat the game, basically, so Johto Gym badges, Elite Four, Kanto badges, and then, of course, you can fight the Elite Four with their upgraded teams. And then at Saffron City, the fighting dojo, there's actually like a schedule posted there, and so certain days of the week are when those gym leaders are going to show up at the dojo, and then you can fight them there. Also, speaking of Heart Gold and Soul Silver, this whole game feels like it kind of got that upgrade treatment that Heart Gold and Soul Silver did. There's a lot of those Gen 4 remake elements in this game. Like Lyra is in this game, and she actually is kind of like your secondary rival. She picks that third starter, and there's just a few Lyra fights sprinkled throughout, which I don't think you actually fight her in the remakes. It's been a minute since I've played them, but I don't recall actually getting to fight her in those games. But you do kind of have two rivals in this game, which I'm always game to have two rivals. Also, the Rocket Executives have their names. They look just how they did in the remakes. I really like that. Just adds more depth to the story rather than just generic executives. You also have the restored locations, like Viridian Forest is back, and then the Safari Zone is back, but not the one from the remakes, not the Sinwood City, Safari Zone. It's actually the old one from Fuchsia City. And it's also not even really a Safari game anymore. They don't really do the game. You can just go through it, normally with your Pokemon, which I personally prefer because the Safari Zone, it always felt a little broken to me. And then just a lot of the towns also looked kind of more so how they did in the remakes, like Ecruteak City, the buildings, they look a lot better in this game. Cherry Grove City's got cherry blossoms on it. I mean, the whole thing just feels a little bit more like those remakes now. Then if you go ahead and pull up your map when you're playing, you'll actually see an upgraded map. Also looks very good, very colorful. But you can just kind of scroll through it, and you can see all the new locations that this game has to add. There's a lot. Don't be overwhelmed. It can kind of seem overwhelming seeing all these new locations, but I'm pretty sure they're all optional if you don't want to check them out, though I don't know why you wouldn't. That's kind of part of the reason we're playing a ROM hack, right? We got to check out the new stuff that they add. But some of the ones that stood out to me would be Snow Point Mountain. I think that's what it was called. There was some sort of mountain outside of Olivine City. I think it's Snow Point. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But I thought that one was really cool. You can overlook Olivine City there. There's also the Violet Outskirts, which is like a cemetery outside of Violet City. And then Goldenrod City had a Goldenrod Harbor, which is kind of just like an extended area of the city. There's boats, a couple shops there, and you can actually surf out that way and go all the way to Olivine City or Sinwood City. So it's kind of like a secondary way to get to those locations if you want to. And all of it's definitely worth checking out, if not for the exploration in Pokemon, then for the XP, because, there is a bit of a level curve in this game. It feels pretty natural, at least if you're checking out all the locations. But yeah, the original games, they were kind of easy, but there's definitely a little bit of a boost here. It's not hard. It feels pretty natural. So just check out those new locations. Check out all the nooks and crannies. There's a lot hidden in this game. Something that was maybe a dead end in the original game. Probably not a dead end in this game. Now, this game is still Pokemon Crystal at its core, so the story has not changed in that respect. It's still the Crystal story. But in some of these new locations, there are a few new events that might happen if you're there. I think my favorite one, the one that stood out to me the most, was there's a new Team Rocket event. It's actually where the new Safari Zone would have been. It looks like exactly how it did in the remakes. I really like the way that looked, but I really like it just because, like the original game, you fight Team Rocket really early on, and then you play like 90% of the game, and then fight them back to back, and then it's just over. It's a little underwhelming if we're being honest, but here, it just adds more fluff to the story. It kind of pads it out. So I think the last thing I'm going to talk about in this video would be the Wonder Trade. And it's actually in Goldenrod City. The Pokemon Center is just like a little bit bigger. That's where it is. And keep in mind, Goldenrod City is pretty early on in the game, so you can actually start Wonder Trading pretty early. And I really like it because it helps diversify your team. You never really know what you're going to get from the Wonder Trade. It's actually how I got my Charmander. I got a Kanto starter, which I didn't really expect, so that was kind of a no-brainer to put on my team. But yeah, you can get a lot of unique Pokemon in there, and I guess it's also worth mentioning the RTC, right? As I mentioned earlier, I did not include the RTC. I chose not to do that, and I thought that would maybe hinder me in some way, like time wouldn't pass. You know, it was just going to be 11 a.m. always. So I thought, you know, I'd probably only get one Wonder Trade and all that good stuff. But technically speaking, no. Not having the RTC really did not mess me up at all. Pretty much if I played like an hour of the game, I'd go through a whole day in-game. So I'm still able to experience all of that stuff, you know, day and night cycle, berries and apricots grow back. I can do the Wonder Trade more than once, because I'm pretty sure the Wonder Trade is just once a day. So yeah, honestly, not having the RTC really didn't mess me up too much. I was still able to experience everything anyways. But yeah, overall, Polished Crystal, I could keep going on for hours. There's just so much that this game has to offer. I literally haven't even seen it all. Like, I'm still going. There's so many, like, cave systems to check out, buildings to go in, NPCs to talk to. There's just so much here. I'm still playing, and I'm already excited to start over and just build a whole new team and go through it all again. It is definitely an S tier, 10 out of 10 experience. I have to say that because, you know, it wasn't in my tier list video, but definitely S tier. I'm very happy you all recommended that to me. I definitely would have gotten around to it eventually, but I did have a few people nudging me in that direction, so definitely a worthwhile experience. You all need to check out this ROM hack. You literally will not be disappointed. I don't think it's possible. This was just such an amazing ROM hack. That is going to bring us to the end of the video here, the end of Polished Crystal, and seriously, what a phenomenal time I had. This was just one of the best games, the best ROM hacks I have ever played in my life. 10 out of 10 experience. I know I already said that, but it is just so true. And of course, this physical product here just looked absolutely beautiful. Seriously, in my opinion, maybe the best physically presenting one that I've ever taken a look at. It is also 10 out of 10. I love the way that this stuff looked. Also, again, huge shout out to Rangi, the ROM's creator. They did not make any of this right here, but they made the actual ROM itself. So huge shout out to Rangi, Rangi4u2, anybody else who may have been involved in creating this phenomenal ROM hack experience. Literally couldn't be playing these amazing experiences without you, so you deserve all of the credit. You made a phenomenal game. You made a perfect game of a game that was already perfect, so you did it. You made the Polished Crystal experience, and I am so grateful for that. So if you all enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like. That would definitely help me out a ton. And if you want to see more content like that, feel free to subscribe. I've got tons of content like this on the channel. Feel free to take a look. And if there's anything that you want to see from me in the future, feel free to leave all that down below. If you have any other questions or comments, leave all that down below. I will do my best to get back to you. But until next time, I'll see you all later.